Welcome back to Home Video. Today I'm going to be digging up the past, reliving some childhood trauma from 5 films that were disturbing to me when I watched them as a kid, probably about 10, 11, 12 years old. I probably shouldn't have seen these films, but they just happened to be on my radar, and some films I had to sit through. So here are 5 movies that were deeply unsettling for me when I watched them as a kid. Coming in at number 5, we've got Bad Taste. Now this is an interesting one because I was probably about 11, 12 years old, and I was walking home from school, and the tape itself was just sitting on the verge, and it wasn't part of a Verge collection or anything like that. It was just the tape itself was just sitting right on the verge on a bit of the lawn on somebody's house. I'm walking home with my backpack and I picked the tape up, and the actual Bad Taste, the actual label had gone, and it was just somebody had written Bad Taste on it. So obviously I took it. Obviously I was interested to see what was on the tape. So when I got home later that night, put it in the player, I was shocked by what I saw. I actually thought that this was somebody's homegrown movie that they had made, which it actually was. I guess Peter Jackson directed it, but I thought it was really underground, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing on screen. It was just so wacky. The creature effects at this stage as well. This was pre-internet, so you had your video stores, but they always didn't have everything, especially stuff like this. Not a film that I was scared of, really. I just found it to be extremely weird. Like, I wanted to know more about it, and at the time there was no way to find anything else about it it wasn't the kind of film I could show people and say, hey, do you know about this film? Because it's not exactly the type of film you'd show somebody. So years went by, and I had to just eventually figure out, internet comes along and you figure out who the film's by, and now it's a hilarious film. I love it. I don't have nightmares about it or anything, but I love this film. But that was a real trip for me actually back then. Coming in at number 4, we have Beneath the Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston. I believe this is the second film in the series. Now, it's not exactly the film itself when I watch this. Once again, same age. Can't exactly tell. It's somewhere around that age. In the scene, Charlton Heston activates a doomsday bomb to destroy the Earth. And when I watched this, obviously he dies. When I watched this, I was just so gutted that he died. He's the main character of the film, and I really didn't expect it. It was it lingered with me for a couple of months. I didn't have nightmares over it, but it just one of those films that lingered with me when I saw it.
Bloody bastard.
Probably one of my earliest memories of having feelings of existential dread, knowing that somebody has a button out there and they can just obliterate the world. And the whole series is great. I love the series. Even the new series with Franco and Woody Harrelson, that third one, the Dawn one, they were pretty good. So Planet of the Apes series as a whole, I actually really enjoy. At number 3, we have Deadly Friend. This is a Wes Craven directed film. I don't remember much about the film at all.
Samantha. Come here, the police.
I only just looked it up recently because I didn't even know what the film was. I only remember a certain scene from it, so I had to put in Kristy Swanson. I remember Kristy Swanson was in it, and that lady from Throwing Mama from the Train. And basically Kristy Swanson's character gets killed by her dad, and then she gets brought back to life as a robot using this brain. And I remember watching it and just being so I didn't know what to make of it, because it's just so bizarre. And she becomes a killer, and one of those films that just stuck with me for a long time. That film, you remember where you were watching these films as well. I was at a squash club. My dad used to go to play squash, and I'd come along. and it was just on the TV in the canteen area. I'd usually sit there sometimes. Sometimes I'd play tennis or whatever in the courts by myself or with Alan. But I remember sitting in the canteen area and watching it on the TV, and I actually haven't watched the film since, so I might actually check that out and see what happens. You know, things affect you differently as a kid and what you are now, so it probably won't be scary at all or thrilling, because you've seen everything at this point. At number 2 we have Battle Angel, the 1993 anime. Basically it's about this young cyborg girl who befriends this young boy, and he has dreams of trying to get up to this satellite up in the sky. That's where the better world is. You know, he's trying to get away from the world down below. Towards the end, when the young boy starts ascending, he doesn't quite make it to the top. There's these rotating blades that end up getting him and basically taking him out. And when I watched that scene, I was watching on SBS, it's a channel in Australia, and I had no idea what the film was. Once again, you know, the film comes and goes. You don't have the internet to even, you know, look up what the film was, because the title doesn't play. You miss the title of the film, obviously. So that film just lingers with me for, you know, 20 years plus, until I actually looked it up and found out what anime it was. I remember that film really sort of upsetting me and triggering me a little bit. Thought about it for months afterwards. I think that's a difference with our generation then. You know, there was that excitement about movies. Now everything's at your fingertips and you can look anything up, find out anything about any movie. There was a mystery back then, which I thought was really cool. The channel SBS in the 90s was great, actually. Had a lot of Asian Chinese films on there, anime. It really opened my eyes to films and anime that were left of centre of what was going on in the Western world, with, you know, the films that were coming into Video Easy and Blockbuster. So coming in at the number 1 spot we have Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. So this film, it was one scene in particular, the scene where Freddy Krueger is eating his victims' faces on the pizza.
If food don't kill you, the service will.
You see their screaming faces when he's eating into them. You know, I didn't want to watch this film. I'd gone around the corner to a friend's house. It was his birthday, and all his older brothers and friends were there, and they were watching Nightmare on Elm Street 4. I didn't know it was called that. That's just what was on TV. And they all kind of gathered into there. I thought I was going to a party with some Coca-Cola and some, sherbet and berry floss. But I didn't want to chicken out and, say, oh, no, I don't want to watch this. So they all sat down and watched it, and I just had to sit through Nightmare on Elm Street 4, having no idea what I'm watching. And this is a film that actually gave me nightmares for a few months, actually. Because, I didn't want to be there at all, but I didn't want to walk away and be like, James is chicken, whatever. Now I can watch it and be like, it's funny, you watch it, it's hilarious. Well, I wouldn't say it's hilarious, but you can watch it and have a laugh, or, you know what I mean. It's not disturbing or anything, but as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, this one was one of those films that gave me nightmares. Then obviously later on I went and watched the whole Nightmare on Elm Street series, and they're great films. I love them. Leave a comment. Let me know if there are any specific films that you found were unsettling or disturbing when you were watching them when you were a kid. I'd be keen to know, because it's interesting to see this specific film for each individual person. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.